Hello and welcome to the All About Pigeons podcast. We have a very special episode for you today, so stick around. All right, hello and welcome to the All About Pigeons podcast. Today we have with us Gabe Glenn, the president and one of the founders of the All Ohio Roller Club. Gabe has judged the N.B.R.C 20-bird competitions, numerous 11-bird competitions, and was offered the opportunity to be the national finals judge for the N.B.R.C in the 11-bird. He will also be leaving the 3rd of October to judge the Tennessee region for their 11-bird N.B.R.C competition. He has an impressive fly record, which goes the 2021 regional N.B.R.C fly, second in the 11-bird, third in the 20-bird, 2022 N.B.R.C regional 11-bird, first and second, 2022 N.B.R.C national final 11-bird, first and third, winning the national with the highest recorded score in history of 702 points. 2023 AORC All Ohio Roller Fly first place. 2023 N.B.R.C Regional 11 first place. 2024 World Cup Regional Fly second place. 2024 World Cup Final third in North America and 13th overall. And the 2024 AORC All Ohio Fly third place. Gabe, thanks for coming on and talking with us today.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
I definitely feel like you guys have a really good, strong club up there, and we'll get into that. But first, let's hear a little bit about your background with pigeons and why rollers in specific. What kind of brought you into them?
You know, I think the rollers kind of picked me. I was a kid, 9 years old, into any kind of livestock or animal. Coming off the school bus one day, noticed a pigeon on the roof, and it wasn't just a wild pigeon. There was something special about it. It had some white on it and a little leg band. A guy that worked for my dad said that it was a carrier pigeon and I needed to get the message off its leg so it could, go back to its home. So it was kind of like a challenge accepted. I caught that bird at night with a flashlight and a dip net. Man, I tried like crazy to get that message off its leg. Well, it ended up being an N.B.R.C band. My mom had told me that my older cousin was into roller pigeons. He would know what to do with the bird and how to get it back to its rightful owner. So that's how I got started. I met him and he introduced me to the Portsmouth Roller Club, and I was just head over heels at that point. I was really into it, all aspects.
What age did you start competing?
I think the first competition I flew, I was like 12. Yeah, I'm not really sure. I don't have documentation of it, but it was in 1996.
Have you ever messed around with racers or any fancy birds? Or it's always been rollers for you?
I've been interested and have got other pigeons, but they quickly go to the back burner.
Yeah.
I'm a roller guy. They just kind of get in the way and eat feed after that first infatuation kind of wears off. They're just more of a pain. So I've had them and getting rid of them, sticking to the rollers.
That's pretty funny that the first bird you saw had an actual N.B.R.C band on it.
Yeah, and it was actually raised from Joe Rowe, which wasn't like the hero back in those days. He won the World Cup championship in 1993 and was the first American world champion. So everybody was really, held his birds in high regard. So it was kind of crazy that the first one that flew to my house was from him. When I met up with the guy at the Pigeon Club who actually owned the bird, I'd had the bird probably a week and a half or 2 weeks. He said, "Do you like that bird?" And I said, "Man, I love this bird." And he said, "Well, just go ahead and keep it. It's your bird." And so, I was pretty tickled, to get that bird and have it. And the guys in the club, the older guys, they saw this new guy coming in, a little kid fired up about birds. So I didn't really know what I was getting into, but one of the older guys, Roy Thayer, he said, "Would your parents let you have more pigeons?" And I kind of went down this road with, my dad already. I was like, "Man, can I keep some? Can I get some?" And my dad told me as long as I kept my grades up and, did my chores, I could get some more birds. So when Roy asked me that, I kind of stretched the truth a little bit. I remember it because I kind of felt a little guilty after I said it, but I said, as long as I get good grades and do my chores, my dad said I could have all the pigeons I want. But anyway, that next month on the next meeting, I went and sat through, and it was kind of boring, really. I was hoping there'd be pigeons everywhere, like show and tell with birds, but it was actually just a bunch of, old guys talking about minutes and stuff that I really didn't understand. And when the meeting was over, I was kind of a little disappointed, but Roy, he had like a like one of those 80s LTDs that had like a trunk that looked like you could fit about 10 bodies in it. And yeah, he said, come over here. And he popped that trunk and showed me those birds. I said, man, them things are beautiful. He said, well, they're yours. Take them. And so I took those with me, and that's kind of how I got started. A lot of guys really generous with knowledge and birds,
That's
and
awesome.
so it's pretty cool.
You hear that a lot too about someone giving a bird, man, the first one's free. You're going to get that bug, and it's just going to kind of go on from there. When did you guys start the All Ohio Roller Club? How long has that been around for?
It's really new. In 2021 is when I met Steve Rose and Richard Miller. And so basically it was just like an idea. It was just like, the three amigos, trying to get something started. Richard really lined us out kind of in the morals, like what we needed to do. It's like, we're going to raise good birds. When guys want to get started, we're going to give them good birds. We're going to help them out with information. So Richard was real adamant about getting us started kind of on the right foot that way. Steve Rose, he's a social kind of guy, knows a lot of people and talks to a lot of people. And he had the Facebook thing going, which I never had Facebook or anything like that. So he kind of put the stuff out there. And then I worked on looking up N.B.R.C members that were located in Ohio and called. But all that took place in 2021. I think we had like 8 members on one of our first meetings. We drummed up 8 guys, and then it's just kind of grown from there, and it just keeps growing. We're really fortunate.
Any tips you can give to other pigeon club members and people with pigeon clubs that are struggling at all? I mean, you guys seem to be pretty successful with, a lot of your members seem to be pretty active in the club.
The tip I would give to other clubs and other guys that are wanting to help their clubs grow is kind of come out of your comfort zone and put the hobby out there. It wasn't real easy for me to just call random numbers of people that I didn't know and talk to them and try to invite them to a club. But I felt like it was, something that I could do to potentially help guys kind of get together, because there are people out there that felt the same way I do about the birds, but didn't know anything was really going on. So I think you got to, get out of your comfort zone and do a little extra. Not everybody's got the same skill set. Nick Rogovsky is our secretary, and he's been great. He was one of the first guys heard about the club through the Facebook, and since then he's put rollers on Facebook and made flyers and put them up. And so it just takes people kind of putting the word out there. To me, I'm a guy that uses analogies. It's kind of like fishing. You just throw a bunch of lines out there. When someone bites, you can't pass it off and think, well, I'll call them back next week or next month. You just go ahead and get back with them and invite them over, be courteous. Can't be afraid to meet new people or have different people at your house. You just kind of got to put that aside and go for it. But I've met a lot of great people in this hobby by doing that.
So were a lot of these guys kind of new into rollers, or were they kind of guys that were just flying for themselves on the side before they found you? Or
A little bit of both. Initially, it was guys that had rollers for quite a while. Right now, if you look at our club, I mean, probably, I don't know, I would say 3/4 of the people that are in our club have been in rollers less than 3 years. So they're all new to it and flying competitions for the first time and stuff like that. So a lot of new members. It's surprising, really, how many people are animal people are interested in birds, but they really don't know the hobby exists. And once it exists, if you can invite them to a show or a fly, a meeting, or even just invite them out to your house, if they show interest, it's really neat how many people kind of end up enjoying this hobby, just like we do.
let's talk a little bit about your own pigeons and setup. So how many lofts and rollers do you have right now?
Too many.
Is that it?
um, yeah, I got bit by the bug pretty hard. So for the first year, it was like I just kept building on, and every time I'd build something extra, I think, well, that should do me. I'm done, and I just keep going. But I've got a main breeder loft that will accommodate 20 pair, and then converted a horse stall into another breeding loft that'll hold 12 pair, and then I've got an individual breeder that will hold 6 pair, and I've got about, I don't know, 7 kit boxes that will hold about 30 birds each, and then a kit loft that'll hold about 150. So I've got plenty of space, but I never have it all the way full. I've got less than 200 birds right now, and I breed from a little like extra pairs than what I would particularly like to, just so that I have extra birds if people need birds to get started. I figure if I only raised them for myself, I wouldn't be able to, help people get going. So I kind of breed some extra. So instead of using 16 pair, I'm using around 22 to 25 pair a year. And instead of raising 100 birds, I'm going 170 to 200. I'm pretty well into it. I mean, you walk back in that backyard, you're at a pigeon man's house.
Yeah. What's your family based on? What kind of bloodlines do you have there?
When I was a kid, the birds I got from Roy Thayer and those guys in the Portsmouth Roller Club had a lot of Hardesty blood in them. So when I got back into birds, I was really looking for Hardesties. And I
Okay.
called Carl. He recommended me talk to Bob Bettis, and I talked to Bob Bettis and got birds from Bob. They're down from Hardesty bloodlines. I was actually fortunate enough, the first guy that, really hooked me up with a bunch of pigeons, Roy Thayer. I was able to get some of his birds as well. He was older and his health was bad. He's since passed away, but he had got out of birds, and I was able to get some of his breeding stock, and they're in my birds today. And a real big kind of shot in the arm was my cousin John Bender. He called me and said Rich Hayes was selling some birds, and he was a former world champion. And so I called Rich Hayes and talked to him. We hit it off right off the bat. I bought several pair from him. So that was the initial, start of what I had. I had those birds and flew them, and they worked and they did what I wanted them to do. But I'm always, if there's something better out there, I'd like to have it. I don't want to sit on something second best. I'd like to fly the best birds there are,
Yeah.
and so I'm always looking and trying different bloodlines. I've had a lot of great families in here. But as far as like handling different types of pigeons, like those first birds I learned how to manage those. I basically, if the group of pigeons wasn't doing good, then I knew it was me. And so I learned how to get the best out of those particular birds. Now, now that I've kind of established that and selected from birds that excelled the way I was managing them, bringing new birds in, they're kind of, they're at a disadvantage. So some birds really didn't work as well with the way I was managing, and I do manage. It seems like quite a bit different than most people.
What is that? What is your management style?
Like on feeding the kit birds, I typically feed the birds all they can eat. When they come in from a fly, so I'll fly them and I'll watch them eat. When they're about done eating, like they're eating slow, then I'll put them back in the kit box or pull a feed tray. There's a lot of families of really good pigeons that, if you feed them that way, they'll fly high or fly way too long and not roll as much. But I've noticed that some of my most frequent better rollers, you could feed them all they'd want every day, and they'd go up on a perch and they'd sit there quiet. And when you turn them back out the next day or the next time you flew them, they'd just roll like crazy. So I kind of selected for that. So throwing different families in that doesn't really work. Most people that fly rollers are really disciplined on the way they feed, the amounts and the grains, and I feed really liberally.
Yeah, I mean, feed always seems to be the common thing. We spoke earlier and you said that part about, you want a family of birds that matches your management style. So everyone's, working together. It's a real cohesive thing.
Yeah, and for me it was the way I work. I've also got a farm and two boys in high school that are in sports and everything. So time's really divided. So I don't have time to like micromanage small groups. So a lot of times I'll put up really huge kits of pigeons. I might have an hour and a half that evening or that day that I can sit and watch them, but I watch them like a hawk. I watch everything they do. I pick the workers out of there. I feel like I'm more of like a college scout, like scouting for talent rather than someone that's trying to figure out, how to, get them to work. They're working for me. I've selected birds for that, and I think I've had some pretty good luck, but it definitely is not a system that would work with all birds.
I mean, it definitely makes sense. So let's talk about the big N.B.R.C convention that's going to be coming up, and your club is going to be hosting this convention. It's going to be September 12th through the 14th. What city is that going to be in?
It's in Columbus, Ohio.
It's in Columbus. Okay. Can you give us a little breakdown of the convention that's going to be going on there? And
Yeah, the convention is actually held at the Columbus Airport Marriott, and the N.B.R.Cs will have rooms, and many of the members have reservations there. There'll be a meet and greet on Thursday evening, and then Friday morning we'll go out, do loft visits, and come back in. Then Saturday, we'll do some more loft visits, come down south. I'm the final place on Saturday. We'll have a little auction and do some raffles and stuff. And then we'll get back to the Columbus Airport Marriott. And I think the banquet starts at 6, if I'm not mistaken. They'll, I think, auction more stuff off, have more raffles, have some speakers and stuff like that. So should be a really good time. A lot of good bird, man.
Did you guys already do the auction for your club?
No, the auction's actually starting tomorrow. So it'll be the 28th of August, which I know this will probably not be out then, but the convention auction will start 2 weeks prior to the convention and end during the convention.
Okay, so there'll still be an opportunity to get on there and pick up some of those birds then through the
Yeah, absolutely. There'll be some really good birds on that auction. So
and that's through the National Birmingham Roller Club website.
yeah, N.B.R.C and the auction page that they have.
You and some other club members are going to be turning some birds out on the last day of the convention, right?
Oh yeah, every loft visit, a guy will fly some birds, and it's going to be kind of cool because the guys that are putting up kits during the convention are going to have a bird marked up or a different bird where people can easily identify it, and they're donating that bird. The people there will be able to pick a bird out of the sky and bid on it.
You can actually see the bird roll. You don't got to take the person's word for it. Man, this
Right?
crazy.
Yeah.
Have you had a chance to go to any of these the N.B.R.C conventions before?
No, I haven't. So this is
Okay.
my first one. It's kind of crazy. It's a lot because we're hosting it, and the guys from the N.B.R.C do a lot of work. Danny Galarza and Danny Sturgeon and the other guys, they do a lot of work, but there's still a lot of leg work that our club members are doing. So right now I'm a pretty busy guy.
It's really good to kind of get that much, to have the convention up there in Columbus and raise awareness for all those other roller guys that might be in the area and might not know about other roller clubs nearby.
Yeah, it was an opportunity kind of presented to us, and I didn't really think we were ready for it. Personally, I brought it up to the guys, and I was kind of surprised that they were on board. They wanted to do it, so we're doing it. I mean, we're a new club, young club, and I think that's part of the appeal. We've there's a lot of like optimism, and like it's a good environment we've got going on. So I think like judges and people that have been here have had a good time. So I'm sure that the convention's going to be a great time.
Is your club got a lot of junior members, does it?
When I say young guys, I'm talking, we have some guys in their 20s.
Okay.
The pigeon hobby is, there's a lot of guy with a lot of people with gray hair.
Yeah,
So,
well, that's everywhere. That's in all aspects of it for sure.
yeah, we do have a couple junior members, a couple younger people flying kits. They've done pretty well. Kiona Ritterbeck and her dad, they put up a kit together and they did really well. It was their first time flying, and man, it was just everybody there was happy watching those birds. I mean, it's nice when someone gets started and you try to give them good birds, and you go to their place on a competition day and they turn them loose and they're working good. That really put a smile on everybody's face. DJ is Kiana's dad. Just that family, the husband, wife, and daughter, were just all smiles ear to ears, and it was pretty cool. And then we've got Wyatt Jones. His dad's Brett Jones, and they fly together. Wyatt will put up a kit, and the club flies and stuff. So it's nice. We do have some younger members, but for the most part, when I say like young people, I'm talking about like the 20 and 30-year-olds that we've got.
You said something right there too I want to touch on is that when you give somebody a pair of birds, you're giving them good birds. It's you don't got to give them your absolute best favorite champion, but if you give somebody some garbage birds, you might as well not give them anything at all, because that's not going to encourage them to continue on. And that's for racing, fancy, rolling, whatever. If you're going to give them some birds, give them something that they can enjoy. It. If you're really doing it to help the hobby, I think that's a really good point right there.
Yeah, and that's something that Richard Miller was adamant about. And I just remember in the beginning, him, really being so adamant about it. I was like thinking, man, how are we going to do this? I looked at my birds. And I was like, I don't even have very many good birds. And, he's just look at you dead serious. And, like, if you're going to give person birds, you give them good birds. So there's ways to get rid of the birds that you don't like. I mean, there's auctions like Amish auctions and people that keep them as pets and stuff like that.
Yeah, there's always outlets.
Yeah, when someone wants, to get they come to your house and they see roller pigeons, they don't want junk that you wouldn't put up. They want what you've got. So you've definitely got to go the extra mile. And I forget who it was that said if it doesn't hurt when you give a person a pigeon, you didn't dig deep enough. But that's kind of the way we've tried to do it. And, a lot of times seems like it doesn't really pan out one way or the other. Maybe they don't get such great birds or have such great luck, but, a lot of times it does. So you'll go to a place and a person will raise a bird. And I mean, it's just the ideal roller pigeon, so they're in the game. And the only thing they need to do is just raise a few more like that. And they'll have a good competition kit.
Are there other roller clubs up there in your area, or?
We're in the region with Michigan, and they've got the Great Lakes Roller Club.
Oh, is it really that far apart? Wow. Because you're like Southern Ohio, right?
Yeah, yeah, they were a little reluctant to kind of pick me up at first, because I was so far out. They picked me up, and we've been flying together, and the hobby's been growing, and so it's good. Michigan's got a lot of good guys up there, good flyers, and we do too. We've got a pretty good region. Wayne Cumberworth last year, I can't remember exactly what place he got in the World Cup finals, but I think he was like sixth in the world, somewhere around in there. But so I mean, the guys that do good in our region tend to do good in the finals. A lot of good pigeons around, so it's a good area to be in the birds.
No, absolutely. How did you guys do with your region this year? I mean, I see some of the stats that you did pretty good on this year's fly.
Our region flew enough kits in the World Cup to put 3 qualifiers into the finals. All 3 of our qualifiers in the finals were in the top 10 for America, in the World Cup. So once they got into England and other countries, they started putting guys up above us. But, if you look at the whole country, one region putting 3 guys in the top 10,
Right.
That's a pretty strong region for this country. The guys that beat me, Brian McCormick and Jeff DeWitt. Now they put some space in between me and them. So we've got our work to do, but we're pretty solid. So we're on the right track.
Oh, that's great. Anybody that wants to find out more about your the All Ohio Roller Club, you guys do have a Facebook group, I believe.
Yeah, we've got the All Ohio Roller Club Facebook page. That's probably one of the best ways. Then there's also the N.B.R.C on their site. They've got a member listings and they've got a directory, and you can get members' phone numbers. So, if a person's not good with Facebook or doesn't have Facebook, they could get on the N.B.R.C website and go to Ohio and look up the members. People are more than welcome to give me a call anytime, send me a message. If you want to talk about pigeons, I'll talk your ear off.
Yeah, and the N.B.R.C website also has everything on there about the upcoming convention going on, and that's also where you're going to go for the bidding as well.
Yep.
Well, I hope you guys have a lot of success at the convention, and you guys, I'm sure it's going to be just a really good time for everybody who goes. And definitely appreciate you coming on and talking pigeons with me today.
Oh, man, I appreciate the opportunity. Thanks for having me on as a guest. I appreciate it.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the All About Pigeons podcast. Please help the pigeon hobby by telling your fellow club members or other pigeon friends about the podcast, and make sure to leave a good review or at least 5 stars for the podcast wherever you do listen. If there's ever a topic or a person that you'd like to hear more about on the podcast, just send an email to allaboutpigeonspodcast@gmail.com, and thank you for listening.